I think this massive building built over a sinkhole that's barely structurally sound, having the blob tunnel its way up. Ladies, gentlemen, and those with the good sense to do away with the whole notion, I welcome you to the premier audio medium for all your Fazbear entertainment needs, the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Note, FFPP is not responsible for any loss of appetite, disinterest, dismemberment, or other legally classified statuses. So strap in and enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, the podcast where we talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm your host with the toast, Rytoast, here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. That's not the intro. I messed up the intro. Whatever. We're just going to go right into the timeline because I can't think of anything to talk about. Usually I take this first bit of the podcast to kind of do a state of the channel, talk about updates on kinds of videos that I'll be putting out, schedules and stuff like that. But I mean, everything's going kind of good, knock on wood, right? Y'all liked the delivery style on the last video, which is more just podcast laid back, but not intentionally chill as the one before it was. And I can see in the numbers that it was more well received that way. So that's good. The streams are still 4 days a week and videos are going up on Rytoast and y'all like them so far, which is huge. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say. Like today is a repo video. We'll see how that goes. But at least the next week of Freddy's video and the Pop-Up Playtime video did good. Yeah, I guess we're just going to talk about it. The only thing I can think of is one of these days I'm going to fix my camera green screen scenario. And I think it's just a matter of, with the webcam I have, it's really good, but it's too far away to be shown. I record in 4K, which you wouldn't believe because I look fuzzy as hell, but that's because I'm like 4 to 5 feet away from the camera. So I'm kind of far away. Like I'm going to do the blue eye meme and stare at you. Don't mind the bloodshot eyes. It's allergy season, but look at the quality of this camera. Hopefully the focus doesn't fuck this. It's a good camera. I hope the focus didn't make that unintelligible. But I'm so far away that I'm fuzzy. But the problem is, if I bring it closer, it's a really difficult situation to record. Because, if I just recorded, this frame of me, it would be really high quality. Frankly, a little too high quality. But the problem with that is if I do that, you can't see the cat on my lap. And I like having Mark on my lap or Casey on my lap in the shot. And I know y'all do too. By the way, if you haven't yet, you've got 2 weeks left to go. We're at 130 of these guys. If we get 200, they become real. And if we hit 400, I get a higher percentage of the sale, which would be awesome. But anyway, yeah. So I like having the cat in the shot. And to do that, I need to be a bit further back. So I just don't know how to record it was outside of just getting a really expensive camera. But then is it worth it? Probably not. At least it's one of those things where if I had a better green screen and better lighting, then maybe getting a better camera would be the move. But I don't have the space for a better green screen. I don't see the necessity of better lighting because I've got my $100 lighting setup already. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's one of those things where, as always, it just comes down to the space we have. But who knows? Maybe the housing market will crash in a way that's beneficial to me. Because I'll tell you what, under this administration, it's not going to get much better. Anyway, let's pull up the timeline. And I forgot to set it up. So, Rye, fix it. That's better. So last episode, we kind of just went from FNAF 6 to the, through Help Wanted to the beginning, right before Security Breach. But it's still they begin preparing for Security Breach because there's a couple things that need to happen before Security Breach. Because all we've established is that Vanny has been created and she eventually creates Dr. Rabbit in Gregory. So we need to establish, I think in this timeline, I'm going to incorporate She's Always Nervous's Remnant Plex theory. The idea that the CEOs, whoever is running this place, knows about Remnant and the Scooper and is using that to power the Pizzaplex. I like that concept. So I'll probably be doing that. And then I'll leave a good chunk for whatever the hell Escape the Pizzaplex is going to tell us, because that seems to be the lead up to Security Breach. So we'll do those, and then I guess Security Breach. And then I'll check back with you so I don't go too far ahead. So, see you on the other side. Alrighty then, that was a good 20-minute writing session, but you know what? We get there. So, we're still not at Security Breach. Because just a lot happens in the lead up to Security Breach. A lot has happened. Thinking about it, it is similar to the FNAF timeline in general, where the first game in this series, likely FNAF 2, is like 10 years throughout the timeline, because like the shit really starts late 70s, early 80s, and then all this time passes, and then we have 1987. We have all this information we have to cover before we get to the first major game in the timeline. It's a similar thing with Security Breach, where we have Security Breach and Help Wanted, and sure, Help Wanted is in the mix there, but of this new era of the story, we have Security Breach, but so much stuff happens before that we have to cover. So this is leaning on two theories. I like She's Always Nervous's Remnant Plex, so that will be involved here. And I also really like, and we'll get to it when we get to it, it's on the Reddit, Bon Jonzi, I believe. Yes, I also really like Bon Jonzi's Glamrock Bonnie theory. I think it's the most well-evidenced theory for Glamrock Bonnie's killer. Those two theories are included in this. So starting off with Remnant Plex. AKA, the CEO of Fazbear has all the documentation of William Afton that survived, including the Scooper and Remnant. This kind of goes on the idea of that, like, if somebody bought all of Fazbear, they would buy all of Fazbear's assets, and this includes things that Henry had collected, like the blueprints of the Scooper and the things that were at Sister Location. And even if you want to argue that the blueprints were destroyed in the FNAF 6 fire, the Sister Location bunker wasn't involved in the FNAF 6 fire, which means that bunker would go under the ownership of Mr. Burroughs, who would then find that Scooper and find all the documentation on it, and realize that, hey, while dubious and evil, this is a very potent and free power source if we can utilize it. So he sees this as a power source to save on costs and have the most impressive pizzaplex possible. This could do what electricity never could. But we would need a setup where they could feasibly get away with disappearing a few people here and there, ideally with a fall guy. So if it ever does come out and ever does get discovered, they can point to the person who was doing it that wasn't themselves and be like, oh, we had no idea, we're so sorry. They're in jail now and we can go back to business. So they look through their company records and they find Vanessa, an obsessive, if slightly unhinged worker who seems strangely devoted to Fazbear for no inexplicable reason. She's approached about a special job opportunity for head security at the Mega Pizzaplex, but with an added side job of harvesting Remnant. So this leans on a lot of the duffel bag messages of the fact that Vanessa was like interviewed for security, and the interviewer was like, yeah, she has no experience in this field. She seems nice, but I don't know why she's being promoted for head security or like hired on for head of security. She has none of the necessary qualifications. And then it doesn't matter. That was marked for deletion and she was pushed through anyway, quote, from the higher ups. Or I shouldn't say quote. It's like from up top or like from the higher ups or from management. Like basically they're like whoever's at the top pushed her through. Now, a lot of people and myself in the past have taken this to mean that Glitchtrap was editing the emails and all the digital stuff of this to push this through, which is still possible. This would have to be I think this would have to be in like a post CEO is killed world, but it's one of those things that like, while it is possible that the CEO is killed and Glitchtrap is running everything through emails and no one knows the CEO is dead, that is highly implausible, right? Like nobody checked on him once to find his like dead body or the fact that he's not coming into work anymore. Like I understand that like in the real world, CEOs don't really do anything and they're a leech on society. But in this universe, right, Mr. Burroughs was attending board meetings. He was personally going to the Pizzaplex. So if he just suddenly disappeared, I'm sure people would look into it. Whereas in Remnantplex, he doesn't need to disappear. He's in on it. But he just wants the Remnant to power the Pizzaplex, a cheap and very effective power source. Whereas Glitchtrap sees this as Fazbear putting the keys in their hand, essentially. Right? Like, Glitchtrap in this moment is like a teenager whose parents said, hey, can you drive to the store and get something? And suddenly they get the keys to the car. And like, sure, they'll drive to the store and get something, but they also might drive down to a friend's house and hang out and take that opportunity to capitalize on what has been given to them. So Glitchtrap is like, okay, yeah, Vanessa, take this job and we will power the Pizzaplex with Remnant. Because while you're there, you can skim some off the top with me. So before we get there, all the human staff are fired or killed with that all-staff meeting to not get in the way of this power source collection. It is just Vanessa and a building of staff bots. The staff bots are the main busybodies of the establishment. They are the ones like cleaning the place, doing brunt force security, all of that stuff. And Vanessa is just the face of security. So if the police get called, she can be like, yeah, prank call, sorry about that. Or she can erase things from security. She can change security logs. And she can make sure that people who stay after hours are used to feed the machine. That's why people are going missing on the newspaper we see in one of the endings. All of this to power the Pizzaplex. But, like I mentioned, Vanny is able to be this double agent, where while most of the remnant is being directed through the Pizzaplex, Vanny is redirecting much of it back to the FNAF 6 pizzeria in an attempt to fill William Afton's corpse with enough remnant to allow Glitchtrap to inhabit it as its main vessel. So, this version of the timeline is assuming that the FNAF 6 pizzeria is burnt and buried, and while the pizzeria on top may be like a landmark that people know about, the maze that's underneath it, as we know for a fact from Security Breach, it's Pizzaplex, maze underneath it. We know that it's underneath it. So this is assuming that the fire that takes place underneath it was insulated from the outside, not meant to be found, and only found after the fact when they bulldozed it over, it sunk hole down, built the Pizzaplex on top of it, and then like Glamrock Freddy said, we had to dig down to find this place. Like, I cleared the path. She made me do this. So this is, Vanny is controlled by Glitchtrap and is commanding the animatronics to go down into this bunker. Now that they're powered by Remnant, and now that Glitchtrap has infected their systems. They find William Afton's burnt corpse. I think Burntrap is a physical entity. So how does that get squared away with the idea that Scott had, where it would be appearing in your vision? Well, we'll get into that, but I think that's more of a hallucination. Anyway, I think Glitchtrap, like was mentioned in that interview, was not meant to move. I think Glitchtrap was meant to, Burntrap. I think Burntrap was meant to be in a charging pod, stationary, being pumped full of remnant by this whole scenario that Vanny is scraping off the top and putting it back into Burntrap. Is this to revive William? Possibly, but I think more accurately, it's to make Burntrap a suitable host for Glitchtrap. Essentially, if Glitchtrap is trying to recreate the crimes of William Afton and wants to be the new William Afton, what better body than William Afton's corpse that's already attached to parts of Spring Bonnie? Just remnant it up. Remnant has healing and repairing properties, so not saying it'll bring back a flesh and blood, alive and well William Afton, but hopefully will repair this fragile body enough to be durable enough for Glitchtrap to safely inhabit it. But this takes a lot of time and a lot of work, and while Vanny is busy doing this, her focus needs to be here, so she needs somebody else running defense. This is why she converts Gregory into Dr. Rabbit, tricking him with the Vanny mask to get higher arcade scores until eventually his mind is taken over by Glitchtrap fully, forming the Dr. Rabbit persona that we see in GGY and that we saw in the preview for Escape the Pizzaplex. So, Dr. Rabbit's main goal, Vanny looks at him and goes, hey, your goal is to defend us. You need to set up defenses. And it's like, you got it. So Dr. Rabbit first decides to encrypt their hosts' consciousnesses. Essentially, take the actual consciousness of the host and put it within arcade machines that can be hidden in the establishment. That way, in case anything happens, the body dies or something like that, they have a backup, and the host can't break free without this backup being destroyed or broken or decrypted through the game. So he hides his own in 2 Balloon World arcade machines. He hides one of them in his hideaway in the daycare loft, and he puts the other one in the FNAF 6 den, that bed right outside the Burntrap arena. Then he hides Vanessa's consciousness behind Princess Quest, 3 machines of it, one of them in the Roxy Salon, one in the West Arcade, and one in the Vanny Den above Fazerblast. The idea of we'll hide some throughout the Pizzaplex so they're hard to get to, and we'll put the main ones, the protected ones, in our own den so they, if someone gets inside of our house without us knowing, that's our fault, right? And during this time, to protect himself while he's going throughout the place and doing all of this, he adjusts the programming of Glamrock Freddy to protect Gregory's body. The idea of you need to protect me at all costs while I am doing this. I forgot one more major thing. Uh-oh, okay, hold on. Okay, almost forgot something very important. Yeah, we'll do Bonnie first, because Bonnie happens before the Pizzaplex. So Glamrock Bonnie. Now, this goes on to the Bonjanzi theory that I saw on the FNAF subreddit. So Glamrock Bonnie makes his way down to the FNAF 6 Underground and is caught by the green staff bots and destroyed on the way back through the Roxy garages to cover their tracks. So that was a lot of information. I'll put the link for this post in the description. So full credit to this theory from Bonjanzi. It's an incredible theory. I highly recommend reading it yourself for who and why who killed Glamrock Bonnie and why. But I'll just do a very brief summary, but seriously, go read this and look at all their evidence. It's incredibly well done. But the main premise behind it is that looking at Glamrock Bonnie, there is green around a lot of the damage to the chassis. And of course, we know about the carpet that's left around underneath Glamrock Bonnie. Well, also in Bonnie's green room, there are some staffbot pieces, specifically these greenish moldy ones, which is reminiscent of the sewer staffbots that we see in the FNAF 6 basement. These are, as far as I'm pretty sure it specifies in here, but as far as I'm aware, they are also only outside the FNAF 6 pizzeria. Let me double check that. I'm just going to take him at his word because everything else in this is factual. Apparently, the name for this model is Exterminator Bot, which is also very incriminating. But like I said, that green sludge that he mentions on the outside of Bonnie and on the green room pieces, right? Well, then we go to Ruin, where in Ruin... So if this bot is only outside of the FNAF 6 pizzeria, then it's like, okay, this makes sense that like maybe Bonnie went down there, got found by these things, tried to escape, and got killed. But it's still like, where did Bonnie get killed from? On the way back up from the FNAF 6 pizzeria is the Roxy Raceway, and there's those several garages. In Ruin, when looking at it, the room that has all the damaged animatronic plushes has a blue tarp covering part of the carpet that matches the cutout carpet under Bonnie. A blue tarp that's about the same size as the piece that was cut out of the carpet. Not only that, but in that room leading to it is green sludge all over the place, matching that exterminator bot. So this starts to form a narrative where Glamrock Bonnie went down to the FNAF 6 pizzeria, was found by one of these exterminator bots, fought his way back up, but eventually is taken down in the Roxy garage. The carpet is cut out, and he is scooped up and placed in the back room of Bonnie Bowling to not be found. Now, there is one issue. The security message that said that, in fact... Hold on, that's linked here as well. The security message saying that Glamrock Bonnie is missing and was last seen entering Monty Golf. I was always trying to square this way. He brings up a great point. One person is the head of security, Vanessa, aka Vanny, who could fabricate a report like this and basically throw some shade over at Monty Golf so that they don't have to worry about it. We all know Monty's aggressive anyway, and then no one's going to look into it further. They'll be like, oh yeah, Monty did. That makes sense. And this also goes along with my theory that Cassie's dad is looking into what happened because of Glamrock Bonnie being destroyed. And if he knows what actually happened, that would likely mean that he saw a staff bot, that exterminator bot, destroy Glamrock Bonnie. Or at least he knew that Monty didn't do it. And in investigating that Roxy garage area, he would have found the entrance to the FNAF 6 bunker leading to Help Wanted 2. So like I said, huge credit to Bonjanzi, incredible theory. I didn't make a video on it. I saw this like a couple weeks ago. I didn't make a video on it yet. I might one day, but I would want to reach out to Bonjanzi to make sure that's cool. But it is an incredible theory that I just kind of agree with and think is fact. And part of the reason I don't want to cover it is I don't have much to add besides, yeah, I agree. Whereas like every other theory that I cover, anytime I try to cover somebody else's theory, I usually want to like, here's their theory, go check it out. And here's where, if that's true, what does this tell us? Or I disagree with it for XYZ, but I think it's still valid. You know, I want to add to the conversation, and I don't have much to add to that theory besides, I agree. So yeah, regardless, that I'm including in here because I think that's just true. That's just like, hey, you got it. Goddamn. So that happens. Another thing happening in this lead up is while they're in the FNAF 6 pizzeria, they find the mimic endoskeleton. I believe it was underneath the maze where we find it in ruin. It's in that area. And while they recognize it as the mimic endoskeleton, and it's incredibly useful, this endoskeleton has been tainted either by agony or just through learned violence, and it's incredibly dangerous to work with. Like, Glitchtrap, Vanny, and Dr. Rabbit, to some extent, have conscious thought, and they're able to, like, think for themselves and rationalize. Whereas it seems like the mimic endoskeleton has one directive: rip people into pieces and kill them. So it's like, hey, this could be useful, but for now, let's lock it away until we figure out what to do with it. So they trick it in the back room and lock it. And once it's locked, they begin utilizing the Mex's system that they also find down there. Something that can further protect and secure everything going on. Dr. Rabbit then begins placing those security nodes all over the place. His main, his modus operandi right now is, I will ride Glamrock Freddy inside his chest cavity, go throughout the Pizzaplex, and place various security nodes. That way, if anyone wants to get to us, they have to disable all of these security nodes. And it's somewhere during this time that Escape the Pizzaplex happens. Frankly, we don't know what it'll be. The book comes out in like a week. I'm hoping I can find it. Or book comes out at this point in like 2 weeks. But hoping I can find it somewhere at Barnes & Noble before then. But yeah, like at this point, Escape the Pizzaplex is happening at some point in this time. But I still think that Escape the Pizzaplex will end with Cassie beating the daycare Balloon World arcade machine, the one in the loft. And that leads to her having to flee the Pizzaplex, either because Sun Moon start attacking or Gregory gets way more aggressive. It's unclear. We don't know, because the book's not out yet. But I believe that she's going to beat that daycare loft balloon machine and escape. So now one half of Dr. Rabbit's defenses is gone, and that's a problem. Especially because of what happens next. Cassie's dad, Jeremy Help Wanted, is still looking into the Pizzaplex after being fired. At this point, all the human staff were fired or killed, but he is still here, trying to make it a safe place for his daughter and worthy of the characters he loves. Now, the reason I think he's already fired, one, I think this takes place after the all-staff meeting, but two, and I think this is also important, when we receive the Faz Wrench in the FNAF 6 pizzeria, Mystic Hippo gives it to us. How much of this is real, who knows, we're wearing the Vanny mask, but she mentions the key is familiar to you. Not, here is your key, here is because use the key to confront the darkness, the key is familiar to you. Not, here's your key, here's your tool back, it's, this is familiar to you, which implies there is some space between when he had it last. I think this is, he has been fired, but in looking into this, he found one and is using it again. And he knows what happened to Glamrock Bonnie. He refuses to tell Cassie what happens, meaning he knows. And I think leading that is how he finds the FNAF 6 bunker. But while in the FNAF 6 bunker, Help Wanted 2 begins to happen. And I believe just before Help Wanted 2, he beats the Balloon World arcade machine, releasing Gregory from Dr. Rabbit's control. Now, both of them, the daycare loft and the one in the FNAF 6 bunker, have been beaten. This is what sets Security Breach in motion. He's doing stuff down here. This happens. Gregory never goes down there. I don't think the Burn Trap ending is canon. I think it's a possibility, but I don't think it happens. Meaning he's down there during all this time. And Glitchtrap is like, animatronics, Vanny, go find Gregory. Freddy's innate programming has been made to protect Gregory's body, and he has received a directive to get Gregory, which these collide, they conflict, it crashes out his system, and he stops mid-performance with Gregory inside of him. Glamrock Freddy boots into safe mode. This wipes Glitchtrap out of his system, which also wipes the memories of what he did under Glitchtrap's control. Now, Freddy and Gregory have just been released of Glitchtrap's control and have no memory of what just happened. Security Breach now begins. Where are we at on time? Because that was a lot. We're good on time. I guess we'll do Security Breach and maybe Help Wanted 2. Because if I manage to do that, I guess what will happen, I think what makes the most sense is I'll be able to do Security Breach and maybe Help Wanted. or Help Wanted 2, and then maybe we can have one last episode of this just going through my timeline before Secret of the Mimic and Escape the Pizzaplex come out. Because once Secret of the Mimic and Escape the Pizzaplex come out, then I just got to start working on making this like a full like video timeline, which I'll probably come out in December. And I know that's like 9 months away. It's not because it's going to be as high quality as like FNAF's timeline, because holy shit, that was an incredible video, but it's just I need time. It'll probably be very similar to a style of video I often do, but it'll be long, and I make weekly videos, so I don't have a lot of time to work on a long project outside of that. Anyway, I will type up Security Breach now. All right, another like 10 to 15 minute writing session, but these games are dense. So I believe I left off when Security Breach began, and I just went through everything else. So Security Breach begins, and Gregory and Freddy begin to navigate what's going on, and while doing that, their memories slowly come back to them. You know, like they go to the West Arcade, and they're like, wait, I remember this place. This basically explains why, by the beginning of the game, Gregory's like, I'm Gregory? Confused and disoriented, and by the end of the game, he's like, without any prompting, kids are going to keep going missing if we just leave, right, Freddy? Which is like, how did he learn that? Well, his memory slowly came back to him throughout the game. And all the while, Glitchtrap is attempting to re-enter Gregory's mind directly. But when Gregory sees Glitchtrap, his mind shows him Burntrap. That's the like hallucination that he would see throughout the game. By the end of the night, Gregory and Freddy have beaten all 3 Princess Quest arcade machines, freeing Vanessa from Vanny's control as well, and the 3 of them vacate the premises. This is assuming that Security Breach happens pretty much as we see it, but specifically the good Vanny or Princess Quest ending is what happened. So what does this mean for the lore? Well, if Gregory and Vanessa have been freed, they weren't, as far as we're aware of, B72 rules apply here. The program, right, the glitch trap in their mind is only destroyed if they are killed while being possessed. The assumption here, and this kind of needs to be true if Help Wanted 2 makes any sense, but the assumption here is that somebody can be freed from Glitchtrap's control without destroying that iteration of Glitchtrap. So Vanny and Vanessa. Vanny can be removed from Vanessa, but Vanny still exists as a digital entity in search of a new host. I believe this is true with Vanny and Dr. Rabbit, that when these arcade machines are beaten, Dr. Rabbit and Vanity are now just digital, like spirits, essentially. They're digital programs looking for new hosts that have been inputted back into the Pizzaplex. So at this point, Dr. Rabbit is looking into who beat the machines and started all this down a bad path, and he finds Jeremy Help Wanted in the FNAF 6 bunker. So he begins to trick him using that Vanny mask to slowly take over his mind, just as Vanny did for Gregory. And this begins to work. This is going into that ID's fantasy idea of the Candy Cadet story about the person being led astray by a little boy in the woods being Help Wanted 2, the little boy being Helpy, aka Dr. Rabbit. Vanny knows that this is going on, and Vanny knows Dr. Rabbit sees itself as Glitchtrap's favorite. And if we're going off of In the Flesh, you know, the Mpreg story, these digital entities iterate itself, and the new version kills the old version. So Vanny knows if Dr. Rabbit gets his hands on anything that can destroy Vanny, he will, including a new host. So Vanny attempts to lead him astray with like we see in Help Wanted 2, the Glitchtrap hand offering these plushies. It's essentially Vanny like trying to lead Jeremy away from Dr. Rabbit so that she can take Dr. Rabbit out of Jeremy and destroy him, and then take over Jeremy's mind instead. This is what I think we see in the Princess Quest 4 ending of Help Wanted 2. I think it's Vanny fully getting Jeremy into a vulnerable state, and then plucking Dr. Rabbit out of him, crushing that iteration of Glitchtrap, and taking over Jeremy's mind to further serve Glitchtrap Prime. Because again, Dr. Rabbit, Vanny, Glitchtrap, they are all iterations of Glitchtrap. So when Vanny crushes a Glitchtrap, I don't think she's crushing Glitchtrap Prime. I think she's crushing Dr. Rabbit. For the same reason that if you listen to Dr. Rabbit throughout Help Wanted 2, you eventually see Glitchtrap exiting a charging pod. Is that Glitchtrap manifesting in the real world? I don't think so. I think that's Glitchtrap taking over Jeremy's mind. Specifically, I think that's Dr. Rabbit taking over Jeremy's mind in that moment. But what happens immediately after that? You're killed by like 7 staff bots. So I think what happens is in the actual plot, in the actual like canonicity of Help Wanted 2, is Jeremy listens to Dr. Rabbit and his mind is fully taken over by that iteration of Glitchtrap. And once Dr. Rabbit is in Jeremy's mind, Vanny does what Vanny does best and sicks the staff bots on him, killing him that moment. Which, when that happens, destroys Dr. Rabbit. Like we see in B7-2, if somebody has that digital host inside them and dies, that digital host dies with them. It seems like the only way to kill these things is to attach it to something physical and kill that physical thing. But now there's a problem. During all of this, the blob is angered by all of these disturbances. It absorbs Afton's corpse and then flees the Pizzaplex, causing massive sinkholes and tremors on the way out. So this is essentially, think like the Burn Trap ending, where the blob sees Burn Trap and for no reason other than it wants to, grabs Burn Trap and flees. I think this would happen no matter what. I think the blob is essentially this mass of all of the agony going on at this place. And agony absorbs other agony. We know this to be true. So if it sees William Afton's corpse filled with agony and remnant, that's like a delicious treat placed right in front of it. Grabs it and runs away. So we're going to have to deal with the blob. But how do I know this? Well, in Ruin, the Pizzaplex is in ruin due to earthquakes. And we see the blob fleeing Ruin before we get a mask or a chip or anything. We see with our own eyes that the blob is fleeing the Pizzaplex. And it's already at the surface when we leave. I think this massive building built over a sinkhole that's barely structurally sound, having the blob tunnel its way up will cause these tremors that has everything fall apart. And then that also explains why Burn Trap is nowhere to be found anymore. But in this moment, when the blob takes Burn Trap and leaves, Vanny is left without any options. Vanny has no host, no customers for more remnant, nobody for Glitchtrap, and they're stuck down here because of Dr. Rabbit's goddamn security nodes. They can't even get access to the Mimic endoskeleton, right? Like, it was like, okay, maybe we can at least use the Mimic. It was our break glass in case of emergency. We'll put Glitchtrap in the Mimic and we'll do that. And they put Glitchtrap in the Mimic, and he's stuck in that goddamn room because of Dr. Rabbit's security nodes. So it's like, okay, Glitchtrap is in the Mimic. It can communicate with the walkie-talkie we left in there. Maybe we can trick Cassie into getting it down. We know Jeremy's contact information would have Cassie because he worked at the Pizzaplex. And we know Dr. Rabbit, whose information was likely divvied up between Glitchtrap and Vanny, was hanging out with Cassie a lot during Escape the Pizzaplex. So it's like, okay, she might be willing to save Gregory. They were close. Let's use that against her. And then we have Ruin, where Glitchtrap is speaking through the talkie, and Vanny is speaking through Helpy in the Vanny mask. And they are together trying to trick Cassie to disable every security node and get down to the basement. And when she's finally there, it's like, thank God, we freed the Mimic, Glitchtrap is free, and I can take over Cassie's mind. And the Mimic endoskeleton's programming takes over and goes, there's a body that I need to disassemble. So Vanny has to quickly take over Cassie's mind in that moment and be like, wait. And once Vanny is inside Cassie's mind, Glitchtrap and Vanny can take control of the both of them. This is the Brazil ending. This is while you're being chased, suddenly Cassie only sees like a nice area, like somewhere she isn't anymore, because Vanny has taken over her actual mind. So by the end of Ruin, Vanny has taken over Cassie, and Glitchtrap has taken over the Mimic. And that's where we're at the end, current moment of the FNAF timeline. I went a little fast there, but there's evidence for a lot of that, but not all of it. You know, a lot of that is speculation based on how these things work from the books. But yeah, I think this is probably my timeline. I guess next episode I will slowly go through the whole thing, and that'll be like the timeline episode. But I feel pretty good about this. I guessed 40. I came out to 27 slides. Granted, I'll probably add like 1 or 2 from Escape the Pizzaplex, and I'll probably add like 1, 2, or 3 from Secret of the Mimic. But, you know, I'm pretty happy about this. Let me know what you think of this major timeline, you know. Next episode will really be the one where we go through the entire timeline, and I'll take feedback. But I feel good about this. I think this is my interpretation of the current FNAF timeline. And once again, I don't have any time for questions because these timeline episodes take so long. But next time, hopefully we will be doing questions. In fact, ask questions about the timeline on the email that's Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast at gmail.com, and I will take them at the end, beginning, middle, whenever it feels good of next episode when going over the entire timeline. So go rewatch all the timeline episodes. They're mostly in order with like a Secret of the Mimic trailer reaction in the middle of it. And let me know your questions or thoughts, and I'll bring those up on the next episode. But yeah, until next time, thank you for watching the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, where the pizza abilities are endless. We hope to enjoy your future patronage. Bye-bye for now.